Now, texture, Mizani. Why are we here? There have been so many people on stage today. I have an opportunity to come in and enjoy a few different people, talk about texture. But what is Mizani's purpose of being here? What is it that we want to show you? Well, how many of you have ever had challenges with your hair texture? Hands in the air. Have you ever had any challenges with your hair texture? Okay. And if you haven't had challenges, how many of you know people that have had challenges or had clients that have had challenges? So we're all aware of that, right? When we're talking about texture with Mizani, we're talking about all textures, but we're talking about specifically wavy, curly, and coily hair. So whether you have it or you're working on someone who does, we're all involved, am I right? Earlier it was mentioned about the percentage of the worldwide population of textured hair. And that percentage is 65. 65% of the world has wavy, curly, or coily hair. Isn't that a lot? Is that a lot? Is that a lot? That's a lot, right? We're talking about a lot. When that was taken in 2020 during COVID. So now we're at 2024. We know what happened in COVID, right? Everybody was at home. Everybody was spending time together. Do you think texture went up or went down? How many think it went up? It went up. So what does that mean for us? It gives us an opportunity. What do challenges mean for us? Challenges are opportunities for us to thrive. Okay? And so with Mizani, what we wanted to point out, Gina's GlamJam. Y'all like that? It's my baby picture right here. It's my baby picture. Okay, what we wanted to point out is the Mizani AirCut. Now, we talked earlier, or you guys may have heard other people mentioning different types of cuts and cuts on texture, curly cuts, things like that. The Mizani AirCut is a curly cut. But what makes it so unique? What makes it different, right? Because there's a class here and there for a curly cut. Am I right? Am I right? So how many of you ever taken a curly cut class? Okay, so we've all had one. Let me tell you a little bit about myself, my story. When I started beauty college, it wasn't my choice. It's not what I really wanted to do. It was something that I was told I was going to do. And I'm an obedient child. I listened to my mother, and so I did it, just as she asked. But I had to find a way to make things kind of fit into the person that I am, okay? Because I didn't grow up with that dream like, oh, I want to get in some hands. I didn't want to do that. But once I did, I found out that cutting hair was my niche. Like, I could get right into that. My dexterity was cool. I could hold combs. I could hold, clipper cut, all of that. So I prided myself on my precision cutting. And I felt with my precision cutting, I could do anything. Didn't matter if your hair was curly. Didn't matter if it was wavy. Didn't matter if you had coils. I have curls. All my friends, they have coils. They have curls. They have waves. So I could take care of it. Then the curly cutting techniques came out, and I was like, take a class? Please. I'm a precision cutter. I can do anything. And they were like, well, we're going to cut it this way. Maybe it's a curl by curl. We're going to use art. We're going to use this. We're going to use that. I figured I could do it myself. Like, I could figure it out because it's my forte. Well, I ended up cutting my niece's hair. And you know when you've done something wrong when you have to make a promise or make them promise not to do something. What do you think I made her promise? Well, she said she was only going to wear it curly. So my promise that I made her tell me was that she wasn't going to wear it straight. Why didn't I want her to wear it straight? Right, I knew there was going to be some issues, but it was going to be full, it was going to have some movement, it's going to be vibrant. Uncle, I promise I'm only going to wear it curly. Okay, cool. So I cut it. And a month later, she decided she was going to do a blowout, and I didn't see her anymore after she did that. So, enter the Mizani AirCut. When you're looking at the picture, You see volume, right? You see movement. You know, how many times have we seen, everyone know what an afro is? Everyone know what an afro is? So an afro is actually a style. It's not a cut, it's the style of a cut. And when we look at an afro, we see a silhouette. Everyone know what a silhouette is. The silhouette is just the shadow or the background of that hair. So when we're looking at an afro, you just see a round shape, or however it's shaped, square, whatever, but there's no peaks and valleys, there's no depth. When you look at these pictures right here, you see depth, you see movement, you see volume, right? Even when we're looking at my girls right here, Janet, these are the triplets. They're all named Janet, 1, 2, and 3, okay? But as you're looking at them, pay attention to the peaks and valleys, the movement that's in them. You know, how you can see shape and how you can see it building and how it lifts. And so that's what's significant about the Mizani AirCut. It works on all texture types, but specifically waves, curls, and coils. Now, one of the things, I just did a air certification class last weekend, and one of the first questions that came out right in the intro was, what makes this one so special compared to all the other cuts that we've done? I said, wow, that's a good question. I said, I want to tell you what that answer is right now, but we have 2 days of training. And I guarantee you by the end of day 1, actually by lunch, you're going to start to see what those differences are. Since we're giving you a sneak peek, I'm going to tell you just real quick what a couple of them are. It says right there, can be worn curly or straight. Remember that promise that I had to make my niece make to me? With this particular cut, she gets that beautiful curly movement without having to do what? Without having to sacrifice being straight. She can wear it curly today, straight tomorrow, and go back curly, as we see right here in Janet 2. Or was she Janet 1? Who remembers? Doesn't matter. Okay? We look at her hair. On this side, it's all curly. Technique was used on both sides. It was cut all at once. Then we come over here, and we see the movement. Do we see shattered lines? Do we see choppiness? Or do we see fluidity? That's impressive, right? Not that I'm impressive, but that's an impressive cut. To be able to do something like that. A lot of us like our texture cutting because it gives us a lot of creativity. It gives us a lot of artistic expression. So at Mizani, we like to use what we call our SATs. We use science, we use art, and we use technique. So you still get that precision that I need with that technique. I have some type of form. You still get art to where you can piece and do this and personalize things. But the science is what's important. And why I say the science is what's important is because when we're determining what we're going to do, we talked about challenges. Maybe she's flat. Maybe she has a triangle. Everybody put your hands. Take your hands, go like this. Okay, let's put our hands right here. So this is going straight down. Let's put them out a little bit. This is a triangle. Okay, so that means it's going to be, what's going to happen in this area if you're like this? Yell it out real loud. It's going to be flat, right? So that's a challenge. If your hair is growing out like this, the hair is sitting right in this region, but it's still kind of flat here. That's a challenge, okay? Maybe you want this part a little bit thinner. That's a challenge. And so with the techniques that we have, you're able to, thank you for participating in that. The techniques that we have, we're able to, what did I say earlier? Take that opportunity to make those challenges into something that is loved, cherished, and appreciated. Does that make sense? Does that sound good? Okay. You're so kind. Y'all so kind. All right. So this is a method that was designed by Tippy Shorter-Rank. She is our global artistic director. This is something that she worked on for about 10 years using various different curl cutting techniques and methods. All right. So she honed that skill to give us this opportunity to be able to be more creative, and have this flexibility with this style of cutting. Okay, so what I want to do right now, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek of what technique-wise it may look like doing an haircut. Now, at the SalonCentric booth, I say it one more time, at the SalonCentric booth, we have some great people over there that are able to kind of give you assistance to let you know that if you're interested in taking this class, there is a GlamJam discount for all of you. It's worth $200. Now, I did mention this is a 2-day course, and it's hard work. I was going to use a big word that didn't need to be said, trying to be fancy, but it's hard work. Okay, so generally, when I said technique, what we usually use are what we call 5 glides and 1 linear. So if we're trying to solve those challenges, you have to decide between those 5 glides and 1 linear what you're going to need to do, okay? For our glides, we have a slide glide, which is going to, how many of you know what point cutting is? How many of you enjoy point cutting? How many of you get point cutted when you point cut? Okay. So I want you to think of this. I'm giving you as a sneak peek to a curly method of cutting, but I'm also giving you great tools that you can use on any form of cutting once you understand what the glides are, okay? So the slide glide diffuses the ends, and it looks like it's been point cut, okay? Now, what's unique about it is the way that it's done. So if I'm taking a shear, and if you'll notice, we use a curved shear. Can everyone see that? So we use a curved shear. The curved shear is always up. These are texture, oh shoot, she's gonna kill me. It's her brand. So it says texture on the front. I can't think of the name. I'm sorry. I'm blowing a blank. But anyway, when you're doing a slide glide, you're cutting like this, and you're cutting in the curve of the shear. Because you're cutting in the curve of the shear, it's allowing the hair to kind of piece up and look more like a point cut. Okay? And with curly hair, if you ever try to point cut curly hair, you're pointing down and going like this. All you're doing is turning that curl downward. It's not going out or up. So you're kind of defeating the purpose. So we have our slide glide. We have our exterior glide, which is going to diffuse more, a higher percentage of the ends. We have an interior glide, which diffuses about 50% of those strands that you're using to help remove bulk or create more softened looks to where the hair lays down more if they want to release a lot more of the volume that is in the hair. We have a freehand, which is more like what we're used to seeing curl by curl, and we have what we call upward, which is going to actually give you, when everybody do this, we did this in our class the other day. Everyone go like this. Okay, I love it. And look at y'all. Okay, so what that does is it actually creates a little bit more volume. So in the front here, when you want those bangs that come and then they sit and they get heavy, we use our upward glide to create. And the reason why it does that is because short hair does what to long hair? It pushes it up. So as you are making your section, when you're holding your section up and you're cutting, and I'll show you in a minute because I'm going to do an upward glide in the front, you're cutting, you're creating short hair here that's coming out to long hair. So as that comes and sits down, those little short hairs kind of push it up. All right, so now, the tools that you use when you're doing an haircut is 25 Miracle Mint. What that is, your leave-in conditioner. It's a detangler, but it's also going to kind of help give the hair, when the client comes in, the hair is clean, it's dry, doesn't have a lot of product on it. This kind of moistens it a little bit, allows for you to see the natural form of the curl pattern, okay? We use our curve shear, and we use a large tooth comb. The large tooth comb is only used when you're setting the perimeter. Okay, because linear is a cut that is blunt and clean, so it's going to give us a hard line. All right? So if I'm setting a perimeter down here or along the frame, then I'm going to use linear to hold that. We don't use a lot of tension, so it's little to no tension. Okay, so see this part right here? I've already pre-cut the majority of this head. What I wanted to do is I wanted to show you these two sections. So I'll separate them. Now, I said one of our tools that we use is the Miracle Milk. So I'm going to spray a couple pumps of Miracle Milk into my hand. Emulsify. Start at the ends, because on textured curly hair, ends are the driest, and I'm going to work my way down the shaft. Okay? Now I'm gathering this, and I'm going to put this over here. Okay, so this section has already been previously cut, so I'm going to use this as a guideline. This is what we would call a pivot, and the reason why we would call this a pivot is normally if the hair is long enough, especially in the crown, to come down to the bottom, with the AirCut we use a lot of body positioning, which is important. So one of the things that we would teach, if this hair was long enough to come down here, we like to make sure that you're at eye level whenever you're cutting. So we would take our knuckles to our guide. So this is my guide, and I'm going at a 45. So I would take my knuckles to the guide, put my fingers at a 45, and I would ride the guide to the 45. And then once I get there, I come around to the back. I drop my fingers for some slack, because I don't want tension. I will rotate my fingers over so that I can see what I'm cutting. I would take my shear with the upward texture word facing me, and I would come along the back, and I would cut. Okay, this would be what we call exterior cutting. What that does is it creates little pockets. You can see those little pockets when you see where the hairline is here, the guideline, and then you see little bitty gaps in there, so that it's not a hard linear line all the way. Okay? But because we are not living in that ideal world, I'm going to take what I have here. So we like to call this a slice of cake. And how many of you like cake and ice cream? How many of you like cake and ice cream? One more time, cake and ice cream? Okay, I thought we had about 10 people in here. Okay, so I'm going to take my slice of cake, my scoop of ice cream, and I'm going to bring those out to where they marry. And that's going to be about right there. Everyone see that? And now I'm going to take the section that I already had, put that together. I'm going to lay it right on top of where it is with no tension. And now this is what I'm going to be slide gliding. So I'm going to take my shear. I'm going to lay that blade on my finger. I'm going to open, close, right in the curve of the cut. Open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close. A little bit of straggler here. Sometimes they don't want to obey. Not like me. All right. So now I'm going to bring it back to where I got it from. I'm going to keep my tension here now, sliding it out. And there's going to be some little hairs there that I'm going to cut off. So those little hairs that separated from that bunch is what I'm going to cut off. Now, going back to precision cut, and we know that in a precision cut, you always check your cut, right? You always check what you do. With the slide glide, because of the way that we initiated that and pulled that out, it doesn't have to be checked, okay? All right. And so now with this one, I'm going to be on the other side. Because we're cutting outside in. This is the last section on this side. I'm going to do the same thing with this. Prep that area.
So,
Pull that off to the side. I'm going to get my slice of cake. That scoop of ice cream is going to be directly underneath the section that I'm trying to blend.
Mike, done.
Take that section, marry it on top, right where that harmony is. I'm going to bring that up to where I am comfortable. Open, close, open, closed, open, close in the curve of the shear, because this is giving us what type of look? Point cut, thank you. Okay, and then now we can see where that's starting to shape and build. All right, and so now for the front. With the front, I want this to be a little bit heavier of a bang. So I'm going to take a vertical section from where I'm standing, horizontal to where you guys are.
So in the stuff of price of to seeming.
Miracle Milk. Starting at those ends, nice and smooth. What I like to do, I kind of like to cheat. Let me put like 4 fingers in here, kind of separate my subdivisions, subsections. We don't want it too chunky. Okay, and then this one I'm going to use the upward glide. So that upward glide is going to give us that volume. So I'm going to start right here in the center. I'm seeing where that bang is. I'm going to use my shear to pick up the hair. I'm going to grab the hair right underneath where I picked the shear up, using the shear to pick it up. I'm going to lift it upwards. I'm going to come underneath. I'm going to do the same thing. Pick my shear, grab it up, lift it up. We have this thing called not spilling the tea. It doesn't mean we don't want you to talk. But what that actually means is, if I was to pick this section up and lift it like this, and then go like this, and then cut underneath, can you see some challenges that might have occurred right there? Because right off the bat, what happened is, I twisted the hair in a different direction, and now I'm cutting it in a different direction. And when I let it go and it lays naturally, instead of it going like this, it's going like this. And I don't want a soft, I want a full, okay? So we're picking it up. So this is my T. That's spilling it. Come underneath, no tension. Let that drop. And all I'm doing is personalizing, so this is your art. But that art is being done with a method. So I know exactly what I'm doing here. And I'm acknowledging that when I write it down. So how many of us have done color, and we know that when we do color, we keep a color card, right? So you remember, because if you have a lot of clients that get color, you don't want to be that person that's sitting in the salon going, what'd she get again? Every time she comes back. So you do the same thing, because when this is actually being done, the hair is set into 7 different zones. Can everyone say 7 zones? Thank you. So it sits in 7 different zones. And in those zones, you create sections. Everyone say sections. In those sections, you may create subsections. So you see, the further you go, the further you do, the more you can commit to making your formula very, very thorough so that it could be recreated. Everyone say recreated? So here you have an artistic style that can be recreated anywhere by any person that has a certification. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm checking this particular cut that I just did. With the slide glide, we don't have to do that, but with all the other glides, including linear, we do. All right? Everyone see how full those bangs are? Okay. And then with the last two, and the last one, I'm just going to do a slide glide at the top. Okay. Thank you. All right. So here we are. How's that look? Not long? All right. So as I stated earlier, over at SalonCentric, we having a discount, GlamJam. Don't worry. This is a way for you to get that certification started by getting the QR code. All right? So I appreciate your time today. I appreciate you guys hanging in there and being that last one to get all this goodness. Okay? If you had a good time, put this hand in the air for me today. And if you love what you heard, put this hand in the air for me. We're going to put those together. It makes a heart. And with texture, web is what we call it. With Mizani, it's the heart, it's the fabric of our being. Put that down here. And on the count of three, we're going to throw it out. Okay? And we're going to say Mizani. Ready? Everybody? 1, 2, 3. Mizani. Thank you.